Stage 6 of the Volta Catalunya, and the rain came down. It didn't dampen the enthusiasm to be in the breakaway for many, however, and in fact the opening 20 kilometres were absolutely brutal. The full run today, 167.6 kilometres, out from Salou on the coast, inland, looping back to the neighbouring resort of Cambrils. Well, it was that Category 1 test right at the start of the day that proved to be a launch pad for many an ambition, and indeed the dashing of many hopes as well. With 80 kilometres to go, the men out front were, of course, UAE Team Emirates. And this is the reason. Colombian champion Higuita was up the road for Bora, and Carapaz from Ineos Grenadiers, a team who clearly woke up this morning and said, you know what, let's do a Bardenechia. Almeida was under pressure. He had teammates around him, however, but those out front, that pair, were doing an amazing job. Well, a quality group of 28 included our race leader, but for how much longer? Because the time was holding. Well, if the peloton, and indeed those within the pack, were starting to lean on UAE, then it started to look like it was going to be a day when nobody was going to win, save for one of the two who were up the road. They were working so well together, there was speculation that there may well be an arrangement between the pair of them, that Carapaz would be allowed to take the stage and Higuita would take the race lead. But that would leave a narrow margin between the pair of them going into Barcelona, and basically it was too much to give away. So there would be a fight between the pair of them towards the end, if indeed they weren't caught. And that question kind of hung in the air. Well, over the lumps and bumps, many not categorised, we started to ask ourselves who was going to do the work. UAE surely couldn't do it all, and they looked like their shoulders were dropping. Likewise, Marc Soler went back to the car, had a chat, and then thought, you know what, I've done enough for today. Suddenly, Uno X decided to add a little bit of drive, and the gap started to tumble down. In fact, a minute was found in very short order, but Uno X themselves got no help. Nobody was giving them a turn, certainly not UAE, who'd done so much work already. And so, the site of the Col de Texeta, the last of the categorised climbs on the day, taken by the Colombian champion Higuita. Well, the arm was flicking out, as you saw, for Richard Carapaz to come through and do a turn, and he did. They shared the duties, and in fact it was the youngster Ayuso who was hot on their heels. He had no race radio and was unaware that the gap between himself and those behind was quite modest, and so that was all going to come together. Disparate groups were wound in, but not the two out front. Well, in the hot pursuit of a group of 6, they rolled off the big bunch. It included Quintana, who was busy seeing a race that he had once led, now slipping away from him, and Ayuso was busy trying to fix the radio control, and indeed the radio saying to him, just wait up, we're coming through. Well, there would be a regroupement, but not with the pair up front. So we were starting to ask ourselves who would be battling out for third place on the day. That's 1,500 metres and a little bit of cat and mouse, both very fully aware that they didn't want to give away any time at all of the advantage that they built up. And it was a handsome margin of, well, just under the minute with 1,300 metres to go. As it was, Higuita would be the man to start off the push, Carapaz waiting on his wheel. And indeed, it looked like Higuita had timed this absolutely beautifully with around about 100 metres to go. Off he set, he got himself a gap of more than a bike length, extending that, and then it started to narrow. And then on the throw, Carapaz came through to take it. He absolutely delighted that he delivered. Well, the disappointment of Higuita soon dissipating as he has the race lead. Well, a close margin between the pair of them going into the final day. And indeed, not such a close margin to those further back. DSM rolled the dice with Van der Nebelen. He wound in, though. And in the end, Caden Groves just dipping his head, wondering what might have been. Well, what was a spectacular drive today. Carapaz taking it ahead of Higuita. Caden Groves in third place. So lots of broken dreams, I think you might say. Fantastic result for Carapaz and Ineos Grenadiers, and a new leader in this race. Higuita leads by a margin of just 16 seconds from Carapaz, blanketing the minute, Almeida and Quintana, but it looks like the pair who were in action today will be amongst those that takes the title. Great day of racing in prospect then in Barcelona. Which one of them will it be? Well, there's bonus seconds straight out of the back door with an early sprint. There's a late sprint as well before we get to our circuit, Montjuïc climb. And we'll be doing that 6 times as we run to Barcelona. A fascinating race will then, of course, finally draw to a close. Can't wait.